Tonight, frightening moments aboard an Alaska Airlines flight. A near disaster as a cabin panel blows out midair. A scare for passengers in the sky.
It was definitely very scary, very surreal.
The U.S. grounds nearly 200 planes. The investigation into the Boeing MAX jetliners. A call to action after a series of suspicious fires. Communities across Canada face growing anxiety of extortion. Plus, fears over Florida's new drug plan.
Yeah, it's a major concern for us.
Worries a new approval could lead to a shortage of prescription medications.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. We begin with that terrifying mid-air emergency on board an Alaska Airlines flight. An entire panel ripped off in the skies above Portland, Oregon Friday night. Boeing's popular passenger jet temporarily grounded in the U.S. The FAA is requiring immediate inspections of certain Boeing 737 MAX 9 planes before they can return to flight. Alaska Airlines says it has already checked a quarter of its fleet with no concerning findings, and that aircraft will return to service as their inspections are completed with full confidence. Late tonight, Europe's air safety agency adopting that same inspection order. CTV's Tony Grace starts us off.
This is the frightening view of a mid-air emergency.
It was definitely very scary, very surreal.
A section of cabin blowing out of a brand new Boeing 737 MAX 9 over Portland.
You heard a big loud bang to the left rear like in row 20. And a whooshing sound and all the oxygen masks deployed.
Passengers exposed as pressure dropped, with reports of cell phones flying out and a child's shirt getting ripped away.
She said there was, I guess, a boy and his mother were sitting in that row, and his shirt was sucked off him and out of the plane.
The crew scrambling to get to safety.
We are emergency. We are depressurized. We do need to return back to.
The plane landing safely back in Portland. And today, the FAA grounding more than 170 Boeing 737 MAX 9s for inspections that will take 4 to 6 hours per plane. Experts say the panel that blew off is where a door that some airlines don't use on this model of plane is covered from inside. What were your initial impressions when you heard about this incident over Portland?
I mean, it's not like the door's being opened and closed all the time. So it's installed, plugged, and it's covered with a fascia panel. So yeah, it is kind of surprising that it did depart the aircraft.
The National Transportation Safety Board now looking into why.
They're going to have to find the door. They're going to have to inspect all the aircraft, right? And then figure out if there's any other airplanes that are compromised.
The incident is the latest problem for Boeing's best-selling line of planes. Last week, it urged airlines to inspect them for a possible loose bolt under the rudder controls. Back in 2019, MAX 8s were grounded for almost 2 years after 2 crashes linked to faulty software that killed more than 300 people. Boeing saying today it deeply regrets the impact of this event, supports the FAA's call to ground the planes, and has assembled a team to help with the investigation. Canada's airlines don't have any MAX 9s in their fleets. Air Canada and WestJet have plenty of MAX 8s, which don't have the same kind of mid-cabin door panels. Still, airline officials telling me tonight they are following up with Boeing. Heather?
CTV's Tony Grace at Toronto's Pearson Airport. Thank you. We're learning the passenger killed in yesterday's bus crash in upstate New York was Canadian. Global Affairs tells CTV News it's aware of 2 more Canadians among the 11 people injured. In all, 23 people were on the bus, most of them Canadians, headed from Montreal to New York City when it rolled over on the highway. And tragedy, too, at an Ottawa area seniors' home. An overnight fire killed a man in his 60s. Firefighters were called to the building to find flames in an apartment and smoke spilling out into the hallway. The victim suffered severe burns and died in hospital. The cause is under investigation. Fires and other violence targeting South Asian businesses are under investigation in at least 3 provinces. It's believed they're linked to an extortion scheme. RCMP in British Columbia addressed the issue today at a community forum. CTV's Ben Milliger now on the growing concerns and police response.
Everybody wants to be safe.
Community leaders, politicians, and police coming together to talk about intimidation and violence.
I want to talk first about the extortion, because I think that's the immediate issue that a lot of people are here to talk about.
Since October, businesses across Metro Vancouver have been targeted by letters from self-described Indian gang members demanding protection money. Multiple shootings have been connected to the extortion plot. How scared are people in the business community?
I know it's very much scared right now. The people, sometimes they don't come in the front.
In Edmonton, several homes under construction have been torched in recent weeks. Many of the builders are part of the South Asian community and have also been targeted with extortion attempts. In Ontario, Peel police have set up a task force to investigate multiple incidents and arrested a 23-year-old BC man after a possibly related shooting.
We have reached out to other jurisdictions. We're cooperating, and it's a matter of assembling the information, comparing notes, and driving forward in each jurisdiction, being mindful of other agencies, and to share that information.
Police have not ruled out the possibility the plots are transnational and could be connected to organized crime in India.
We need to understand some of these guys are interconnected with Punjab and vice versa, and therefore we need to work with the law enforcement agencies of each other, and we need to work with the government at various levels.
Police believe some of those targeted in these extortion schemes have been too afraid to come forward and are urging them to contact investigators to help them bring those responsible to justice before someone is seriously hurt or even killed. Ben Milger, CTV News, Surrey.
In the Middle East today, America's top diplomat is trying to contain the war between Israel and Hamas.
We have an intense focus on preventing this conflict from spreading.
Israeli forces attacked Hamas targets in Gaza again today, while on Israel's other front, its border with Lebanon, another militant group, Hezbollah, fired dozens of rockets into Israel, which retaliated with airstrikes. This is a dark anniversary in America. January 6th, a date synonymous with the storming of the Capitol.
They used brutal force and fear to try and overturn the results of a free and fair election.
Come on, man, open the door.
Nearly 1,300 people have been charged in connection with the attack, the latest just this morning. While Donald Trump, still facing legal challenges from that day, was back on the campaign trail tonight.
Make America great again.
Trump is the Republican frontrunner, setting up a possible rematch with Joe Biden in this year's presidential election. Florida's new drug plan has led to fears of a shortage of prescription medication in this country. A recent decision to allow the state to import some medicine from Canada has created concern it could exacerbate current shortages or cause new ones. CTV's Colton Prale reports.
Jab into the top of the vial.
For diabetics like Andrew Konechny, access to this drug is a matter of life and death.
November 10th, I went to refill, and my pharmacist said, "I'm sorry, Andrew, we can't get Ozempic anymore."
It's a fear that's been reignited in many Canadians after a decision by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to allow Florida to import drugs from Canada. It has some warning about the potential for supply shortages.
This can't be an easy off-ramp for the U.S. to deal with their challenges around pricing. I don't think importing from other countries and destabilizing their supply chain is the right answer.
Drug shortages in Canada have been worse and more frequent over the past decade, according to the Ontario Pharmacists Association. While experts say the threat posed by Florida isn't immediate, the threat posed by current drug shortages affecting cancer treatments, diabetics, and cardiac patients is.
It's probably eating up 30 to 40% of our time right now in the pharmacy dealing with drug shortages, even without this. I don't think this will impact it, but I don't think drug shortages are going anywhere.
The health minister says Canada has strong regulations in place to protect supply. Canadians can be confident that our government will continue to take all necessary measures to protect the drug supply in Canada. But Konechny is skeptical, especially after dealing with Ozempic shortages that occurred with Health Canada regulations in place.
I'm hoping that the fear of Canadian drugs being exported to Florida and then potentially 52 states or other countries globally is going to actually wake up people.
And while many experts are skeptical of how successful Florida will be in importing drugs from Canada, they say the fact the U.S. FDA approved it in spite of Canadian regulations is cause for concern and for renewed vigilance over what's an already fragile supply chain. Heather.
All right, Colton, thank you. 2 BC men are facing another battle in their fight for compensation through a vaccine injury support program. They were approved for the federal money, but are still waiting for tens of thousands of dollars. CTV's Michelle Brunoro has more.
2.5 years after a COVID-19 Pfizer vaccine injury, Julian Schofield continues to rely on a wheelchair to get around. And while he's seen some improvement,
I have pretty good mobility through my hips. I can crawl around on the floor.
There are new pains to endure.
I've gone through lots of nerve sensation and nerve pain, and it's been elevating over time, getting worse and worse.
Obviously, you can see they're kind of curled in and whatnot.
Ross Whiteman also faces ongoing physical struggles after developing a severe neurological disorder in April 2021 from the AstraZeneca vaccine.
I have some tremors now, shaking.
Both Whiteman and Schofield were approved for compensation through the Federal Vaccine Injury Support Program and have received payments. But both also say they are still owed tens of thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket medical expenses for things like the leg braces that allow Whiteman to walk.
They're anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 each.
Or this elevator that Schofield had installed in his home so he could access the main living area.
It's really challenging to be in this situation in the first part and then to have to fight tooth and nail to get what they say they're going to provide is completely demoralizing.
But they say their emails and calls for reimbursement mostly go unanswered.
It's the second case manager that I've had that has quit, and I was not notified that my case manager was no longer working there.
CTV News contacted the company that oversees Ottawa's compensation program but did not hear back. As of last month, more than 2,230 people have submitted claims to Canada's Vaccine Injury Support Program. The majority of those have been deemed admissible. However, so far, just 138 have been approved. Meanwhile, both men say they need to focus their energy on adapting to their new life and healing instead of fighting for the help they were promised. Michelle Brunoro, CTV News, Vancouver.
If you have a cell phone, you could see a bump in your bill in the coming weeks. Canada's telecom giants are raising some rates, and that has consumer advocates calling for more competition in Canada. CTV's Kamal Karamali on the cost of staying connected.
Millions of mobile users ringing in the new year with higher cell phone bills.
I think it's annoying to people. They know that they're paying a lot in Canada.
Rogers says wireless customers will see an average increase of $5 a month starting mid-January, while CTV's parent company Bell Canada has informed its mobile users of a $6 monthly hike.
Yeah, you came early.
Back in March, the federal industry minister promised a merger by telecom giants Rogers and Shaw would only benefit consumers.
They can meaningfully reduce prices for Canadians, and at the same time, they can hire people and honor their commitment.
But at the same time, the lack of competition gives them pricing power, and so they can get away with doing things like raising it a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there.
This week, Francois-Philippe Champagne admitted Canadians still pay too much and see too little competition. The Fed suggesting customers could consider switching service providers, claiming wireless prices are down 22% in the past year.
But what it meant was really that when you stacked it up against other countries, our prices were going down, yes, but more slowly than in other countries.
Consumer advocates now calling on Ottawa to open up Canada's borders to foreign telecom companies.
That if you want more competition, you need more companies competing. So you have to reduce the barriers to entry. And right now there's a formidable barrier to entry.
I reached out to both Bell and Rogers today, and while neither company gave a specific reason for the increases, both companies said they're investing to make their networks bigger and better for customers. Heather.
Thanks, Kamal. Coming up, winter's grip tightens.
Got good crampons on my shoes if I need them.
Parts of Canada shiver with anticipation as stormy winter weather moves in. Winter weather is starting to settle in across parts of North America with a string of storms hitting this weekend. A major system is sweeping across the U.S., targeting the East Coast from Georgia to Maine. The blanket of snow creating dangerous driving conditions. Crawling up the eastern seaboard, that powerful weather system is heading towards the Maritimes. Parts of Nova Scotia are expecting a significant snowfall by Sunday night, but first a January cold snap with a bitter wind chill. Warming centers were open for those living in local encampments.
It's not nice. You just have to have a lot of blankets.
In Newfoundland, another storm hammering that province. It forced the closure of many public buildings Friday into Saturday. Some parts of eastern Newfoundland now digging out from more than 30 centimeters. It's the opposite in southern Ontario, where ice fishers are waiting with bated breath for some ice.
We're waiting patiently as usual.
This part of Lake Simcoe, about an hour north of Toronto, is normally frozen over by now. It's been a mild winter, and scientists are reporting the lowest ice cover in decades.
I am so stoked to be on the mountain today.
And ski hills in BC, also desperate for winter, are finally getting some snow. Resorts were crowded today with skiers and snowboarders eager to hit the slopes after a late start to the season. Still ahead, skating into the spotlight. The new Professional Women's Hockey League gives young players something to shoot for. There are few things that bring Canadians together like hockey. And in Moncton today, the community united to remember a young player gone too soon. A moment of silence before the game for 5-year-old Tate Hughes. The rink was his second home, where he loved hanging out with his big brother's team.
They took him in. He would give them high fives. He was like their little mascot, their little buddy.
Tate died unexpectedly earlier this week. The cause is unknown. The final whistle has blown on the first week of games for the new Professional Women's Hockey League, and it's one of the 3 American teams sitting at the top of the standings.
Now another chance perhaps for Zumwinkle. She scores!
Minnesota's Grace Zumwinkle scored a hat trick this afternoon, beating Montreal 3-0 and moving into first place, albeit only 2 games into the season. Excitement for the league is trickling down to the game's grassroots, where minor league players are now setting new goals. CTV's John Flatters explains.
The opening week of the Professional Women's Hockey League kicked off with a bang on New Year's Day, with record crowds and nearly 3 million watching games broadcast across 3 different networks.
January 1st was a day that all of us were looking forward to, and as it slowly was approaching, the excitement just built and built, which was amazing. And it was everything I could have ever hoped for.
With 4 players coming from Saskatchewan, it's creating quite a buzz for minor hockey players too.
I think lots of people are talking about it, and I've got to watch some games, so it's been really awesome, and I think it's really motivating for all of us.
Yeah, I was with some of my friends watching the game because it's a milestone and it's great to see. And yeah, we watched it. It was really physical. We loved to see it.
With rule variations like a 3-2-1 point system for the regular season, shorthanded goals, releasing players from the penalty box, and loosening rules around body contact, allowing for more physical hockey, it could change the way the game's played at the minor level.
Because it's new and because it's fresh, they're willing to try different stuff. They had their pre-tournament or their preseason tournament. They tried out a number of other rules as well. And you can see that they're really looking, how can we create offense within the game?
Hobson grew up playing for the Prince Albert Bears before going off to university. For many girls, that was as far as they could take the game they love. Now she's playing hockey full-time. The rink is her office.
It's a decent amount in your day, but it feels short because it's just such a fun environment to be in. And everyone wants to love their job, and I completely am in love with what I'm doing right now. So it's phenomenal.
And for youth hockey players, now they've got a new dream to shoot for.
I think it's going to really motivate them, and it's going to have something for them to look up to, and definitely a goal for them to work towards. So it's really awesome to see.
I would love to just continue the game, and I love it so much that it would be the best.
John Flatters, CTV News, Saskatoon.
A very exciting time. After the break, new year, new goals. The secrets to resolution success. Nearly 1 week into the new year, how are your resolutions coming? Many people set out an ambitious plan for change, but the hardest part is sticking with it. CTV's Natalie Van Roy with some resolutions because it's not too late to get started.
8, good, 7.
1 week into a big goal for Stephanie Bishop's New Year's resolution.
I'm trying to be consistent, so getting up the same time every morning, getting to the gym in the morning, and trying to keep my food on track.
Health and fitness is Bishop's priority.
Yeah, excellent. And lift and down.
Time to fit in a workout and stick to her goals.
So meal prepping every Sunday, and then also doing my gym routine every morning at 6 a.m.
So far, so good, unlike previous years.
I'd say it started to trickle off after January. I've tried every year, but this time I want to make it consistent and keep with it.
I got classes at 6 a.m.
Fitness is a popular option for those focused on health going into 2024. The trick is not overwhelming yourself.
The biggest thing is find something that you like to do, that interests you. Get a good outfit. Find somewhere that you can go that's you feel safe and comfortable. Like, you want fitness to become a habit, not necessarily just like something that you do just because you want to lose weight.
Sometimes that pressure of a new goal can be a turnoff.
After Christmas, I decided this year I won't make any new resolutions, and that's it.
Tried to implement something. Not really sure for how long I'll be able to do it.
Other popular New Year's resolutions include improving mental health, improving finances, and cutting back on alcohol. One Ottawa-based business is focused just on that.
Craft beers that some people would actually recognize.
Canada Drinks is the only non-alcohol shop in downtown Ottawa that focuses on beer, wine, and spirits without the buzz.
The old way of doing it was just kind of doing it cold turkey and not finding a lot of alternative options. But now, as the options are getting better, so we have non-alcoholic beers, non-alcoholic wines.
For anyone looking to cut back,
So you can sort of really still pick your favorite type of drink.
the key is taking it one day at a time. Natalie Van Roy, CTV News, Ottawa.
Some good ideas there. That's our newscast for this Saturday night. I'm Heather Butts. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.
CTV National News, Canada's #1 newscast.